All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into something that I think a lot of people dream about, um, which is learning how to play basketball like a pro.
Oh, yeah, a classic.
Yeah, but the thing that makes this deep dive so cool is we've got this amazing beginner's guide.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so instead of us having to like piece together all this information from scratch, we get to really unpack what this guide lays out, which I'm excited about.
Awesome, yeah.
Um, and whether you're picking up a basketball for the very first time, or maybe you've played a bit casually,
Yeah.
and you want to refine those fundamentals,
Right.
this is gonna be like your cheat sheet.
I love it.
Yeah. So we're gonna be covering everything from how to stand,
Mm.
how to move on the court, dribbling, passing, shooting,
Of course.
layups, defense, rebounding.
The whole 9 yards.
Yeah, all the core stuff.
Yeah.
And what I think is really neat about this particular guide
Hmm.
is it not only tells you what to do, but it visually shows you, which is so helpful.
Oh, absolutely. Visuals are so key for anything physical like that.
Yeah.
Because you can read all day long about, proper form or whatever, but until you actually see it,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like, okay, that's what they mean.
Exactly. And I think beginners especially um, can benefit so much from those visual cues because
Yeah.
it really clarifies what might seem like very abstract concepts
For sure.
when you're just starting out.
Yeah, and I think what's also interesting about this guide is that it emphasizes the mental side of the game too,
Right.
which often gets overlooked, especially when you're a beginner. You're so focused on, just getting the basic movements down that you forget about, like, the strategy and the mental preparation,
Right.
that and mental toughness.
Totally. Yeah, that's something we're going to unpack as we go through this guide.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's start at the very beginning, which is your stance and how you move on the court.
Okay.
Um, and the guide right away talks about this thing called the triple threat position.
Oh, yeah.
So for someone who's brand new to basketball, what's the big deal about getting into this specific stance? So think of the triple threat as like your power pose on offense.
Okay.
So, knees bent, ball protected.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just standing there. You're giving the defense 3 immediate options to worry about, right?
Oh, okay.
You can shoot, you can pass, or you can dribble.
So it's keeping them guessing.
Exactly. Yeah. So they have to react to you.
Oh, okay.
And that split second of hesitation or uncertainty, that's where you get your advantage.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, it puts you in control.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, you're not just reacting to the defense, you're making them react to you.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, and then building from that stable base is pivoting.
Right.
Now, when I think of pivoting, I kind of picture like fancy footwork. Is it as complicated as it sounds?
No, it's actually a really simple rule,
But
but it's super important because it underlies a lot of movement on offense.
okay.
So basically, once you've planted one foot, that's your pivot foot.
Okay.
You can move the other foot around to create space, change your angle, protect the ball, all without traveling.
Oh, okay. So that pivot foot's like your anchor.
Exactly, it's your anchor.
Okay.
And by mastering that pivot, you can really explore your options within that triple threat we were talking about without getting called for a travel.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, the guide also mentions some drills like jump stops and defensive slides.
Right.
And to someone who doesn't play basketball, these just sound like basic movements.
Yeah.
What's their significance in the grand scheme of things?
I like to think of these drills as like the unsung heroes of agility and responsiveness.
Okay.
So like a jump stop, for example, lets you gather the ball and come to a controlled halt, which is super important for receiving passes cleanly and avoiding charges.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And then defensive slides, they train you to move laterally while staying in that balance stance we talked about.
Hmm.
Imagine like a shifty guard trying to drive past you.
Right.
If your feet cross, you're basically stuck for a second.
Oh, yeah.
But if you can slide, you stay in front of them, ready to react.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's all about being light on your feet and being able to move quickly in any direction.
Yeah, and I thought the visual comparison in the guide of like a poor stance versus someone like Steph Curry,
Oh, yeah.
it was really eye-opening.
It's amazing, right? You can instantly see the difference
Yeah.
in balance and readiness.
Yeah, like you see Curry's low center of gravity and you're like, oh, that's what it means to be in a good stance.
Exactly. And that foundation allows him to be so dynamic and create so many scoring opportunities.
Totally.
So it's a good question for you. When you picture yourself with the ball,
Mm-hmm.
are you in that coiled, ready position, or are you standing more upright?
That's a good point.
Because that can make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely more upright.
Yeah. Well, it's something to think about as
Yeah.
you're practicing.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to dribbling.
Okay.
which is something that I think a lot of beginners struggle with.
Oh, for sure.
It can feel really awkward.
It's not natural at all.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And one of the things the guide emphasizes is using your fingertips instead of your palm
Yes.
when you dribble.
Fingertips all the way.
So why is that so important?
So your fingertips give you much better feel and control over the ball.
Okay,
Think about it. Your fingertips have way more nerve endings,
that's true.
so you can make finer adjustments and change direction quicker.
Oh, okay.
When you're palming the ball, it's kind of like you're disconnected from it.
Yeah, you're just slapping it.
Exactly. It's harder to react to its movement,
Yeah.
and you're way more likely to lose control or get called for a palming violation.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, the guide also talks about using a low dribble versus a speed dribble.
Right.
So when should you be using each one?
So a low dribble, like around knee height,
Okay.
that's your go-to for close control,
Okay.
especially when you're in traffic or a defender's right up on you. Keeping the ball low makes it much harder to steal.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and then a speed dribble that's more like waist height. And that's what you use when you have some open court,
Okay.
like on a fast break.
Gotcha.
You can push the ball out in front and run with it
Okay.
to cover ground quickly.
So it's all about like picking the right dribble for the situation.
Exactly. Context is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is probably the most quoted piece of advice from the guide.
Let's hear it.
It says, "You're only as good as your weak hand."
Truth?
So why is it so important to develop your non-dominant hand in basketball?
All right, so picture this. You can only dribble or pass well with one hand.
Cool.
The defense knows exactly what you're going to do.
Yeah, they can just shut down that side.
Exactly. They can overplay your strong side and basically cut off half the court.
Right.
But when you develop your weak hand, you unlock the whole court.
Wow.
You can drive left, you can pass with either hand, you become way more unpredictable.
It makes you a more well-rounded player.
Totally. Yeah, a much more versatile and dangerous player.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and the guide even has an example of, someone struggling with their weak hand and then improving.
Right.
And it just shows that it's a journey worth taking.
Yeah. It really emphasizes that practice does make a difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about moving the ball without dribbling, which is passing.
Okay.
The guide covers 3 main passes: the chest pass, the bounce pass, and the overhead pass.
Yep, those are the classics.
So when would you use each one?
All right, so the chest pass, that's your bread and butter.
Okay.
It's quick, it's accurate over short distances,
Okay.
especially when you have a clear lane to your teammate's chest.
Makes sense.
Yeah, the bounce pass, that's your strategic weapon for getting around defenders.
Okay.
By bouncing it off the floor, you can get the ball to your teammate even if a defender has their hands up.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, it's like finding a secret route.
I like it.
Yeah, and then the overhead pass, that's your long distance call.
Okay.
Like for those outlet passes after a rebound,
Yeah.
start a fast break.
Okay, so it's all about like choosing the right pass for the situation.
Exactly, yeah. Each pass has its purpose.
Cool. And the guide very clearly states no lazy passes.
Oh, yeah.
Why are lazy passes such a big no-no?
Well, lazy passes are basically like gift wrapping the ball for the other team.
Oh, because they can steal it.
Exactly. A weak pass or a poorly aimed pass, it's just hanging out there for an opponent to intercept.
Right.
And that can easily lead to a fast break for them
Oh, yeah.
and an easy score for them.
Okay, so crisp, accurate passes.
Every time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so we've covered the basics of moving around and handling the ball.
The foundation.
Yeah, the foundation. Now let's talk about actually putting the ball in the hoop scoring.
Okay, let's do it.
And the guide starts with perfect shooting form.
Right.
And it introduces this thing called the BEEF method.
Love the BEEF method.
So for anyone who's not familiar, can you break down what each letter stands for and why it's so helpful?
Yeah, so BEEF is like a super handy mnemonic to remember the key elements of a good shooting form.
Okay.
So B is for balance.
Okay.
You want a stable base feet shoulder with the part weight evenly distributed.
Mm-hmm.
E is for elbow under the ball.
Okay.
Keep that shooting elbow tucked in directly beneath the ball.
Okay.
The second E is for eyes on the target.
Right.
You got to keep your focus on the rim the whole time.
Don't look away.
Don't get distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then F is for follow through.
Bye.
Fully extending your arm after you release the ball, almost like you're reaching into the basket.
Okay.
It's not just about checking boxes, though.
Right.
It's about creating this smooth, efficient motion.
Like a chain reaction.
Exactly. Yeah, like a chain reaction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the guide also talks about shot arc, suggesting like a 45-degree angle.
Right.
Why is the trajectory of your shot so important?
So the arc of your shot dictates the angle at which the ball approaches the basket.
Okay.
And a good arc, like that 45-degree guideline, gives the ball a much higher chance of going in
Okay.
because it creates a softer descent.
So it's more likely to kind of like float in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more forgiving. Whereas
But
the flatter shot has less margin for error,
I see.
and it's more likely to clang off the front of the rim.
Right. So you want that nice arc.
You want that rainbow arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what about the offhand? Is that just there for support?
It's definitely more than just a decoration.
Okay.
The offhand helps guide the ball and keep it stable
Okay.
as you bring it up to shoot.
Okay.
It should rest gently on the side of the ball,
Mm-hmm.
but the key is that it shouldn't be pushing the ball.
Oh, okay.
All the power and direction should come from your shooting hand.
So the offhand's just there for balance.
Exactly. It's there for support and alignment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I thought the slow motion comparison the guide had of a beginner shot versus like Klay Thompson
Oh, yeah.
really showed the difference.
It's night and day, right?
Yeah.
You see Klay's shot, and it's just so fluid and precise.
Yeah.
And you can see all the elements of BEF working in perfect harmony.
So it's like a masterclass in shooting form
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great visual example.
and a reminder to like slow down and focus on each element.
Totally. Yeah, when you're practicing, are you just trying to chuck the ball at the hoop?
Probably.
Or are you really thinking about each part of BEF?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it can make a big difference.
Okay, let's move a little closer to the basket and talk about layups.
All right, layups.
The guide breaks down this 1-2 step technique for a right-handed layup.
Right.
Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, so for a right-handed layup, you're usually coming in from the right side of the basket.
Okay.
The 1-2 step refers to your last 2 steps before you jump.
Okay.
So your first step is with your left foot.
Okay.
And your second step, the one you jump off of, is with your right foot.
Gotcha.
And as you jump, you bring your right knee up and extend your right arm to lay the ball off the backboard.
Okay, so it's like left-right jump.
Exactly, left, right, up.
And the guide talks about using the backboard as like a square target.
Right.
Why is that such a useful way to think about it?
Using the backboard is a game changer for layups,
Okay.
especially when you're not right in front of the basket.
Okay.
It gives you this nice predictable surface to bank the ball off of.
I see.
And by aiming for a specific square on the backboard, you're basically creating a larger target than the hoop itself.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah, it takes some of the pressure off of having to be super precise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the guide also mentions the Euro step as a way to like avoid charges,
Oh, yeah, the Euro step.
which to me sounds like a very fancy move.
It sounds fancy, but it's actually pretty straightforward.
Right.
So basically, as you're driving to the basket,
Mhm.
you take a quick step to the side
Okay.
to get around the defender.
So you kind of like dodge them.
Exactly. It disrupts their positioning.
Okay.
And it helps you avoid running right into them.
Which would be a charge.
Exactly. Yeah, a charge.
Okay.
And James Harden, he's a master of the Euro step.
I can see that.
Yeah, he's so good at changing direction quickly. Yeah.
And creating space to get to the basket.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, the last thing in the scoring section is free throws,
Free throws.
which can be surprisingly nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah, especially in a
They're
game situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And the guide really emphasizes the importance of having a consistent pre-shot routine.
Yes. Routine is key.
So what are some of the techniques they mention, and why is that consistency so important?
So they suggest things like taking a deep breath,
Okay.
aligning your feet the same way every time,
Mhm.
and repeating the same shooting motion.
Okay.
And the reason consistency is so crucial for free throws
Yeah.
is because it's the only shot in basketball where you have complete control.
Oh, that's true.
There's no defender in your face.
Right.
The ball's always in the same spot.
Yeah.
So by developing a reliable routine, you're basically minimizing variables.
Okay.
And you're building this thing called procedural memory.
Oh, what's that?
It's basically like your body starts to remember the correct movements.
Oh, so it becomes more automatic?
Why not?
Exactly. It becomes more automatic, less susceptible to pressure.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, the guide recommends shooting 100 free throws every day,
100.
which sounds like a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But it clarifies that even 10 minutes of focused practice is beneficial.
Right.
So what's the value of that regular repetition, even if it's just for a short time?
Well, it's all about ingraining that proper form
Okay.
and building muscle memory,
Mhm.
but it's also about developing a feel for the shot. You
Oh.
know, the more you practice, even in short bursts, the better you get at making those tiny adjustments and
Oh,
sensing when something's off.
it's like fine-tuning.
Exactly. It's fine-tuning your internal feedback loop.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I thought the mental tip of imagining crowd noise during practice was really interesting.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Like, how does that actually help?
So game situations are way more pressure-filled than practice.
Right.
There's noise, there's distractions.
Yeah.
So by intentionally adding some of that pressure to your practice, even if it's just in your head, you're getting yourself used to performing under those conditions.
It's like mental preparation.
Exactly. It's like mental rehearsal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the guide contrasts Shaq's free throw struggles
Oh, yeah, Shaq.
with Steve Nash's amazing consistency.
Right?
And it really highlights how much technique and practice matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Shaq, despite being this incredible athlete,
Yeah.
he was famously bad at free throws.
Right.
Nash, on the other hand, he was a career 90% free throw shooter,
Wow.
which is incredible.
That is really good.
Yeah, it shows that even the most talented players need to master the fundamentals
Yeah.
to reach their full potential.
So true.
Yeah,
All right. We've covered a lot of ground on offense.
we have.
Let's shift gears now and talk about defense.
Okay, let's get defensive.
And the guide calls it lockdown defense.
Love it.
And it outlines the basic defensive stance. So what are the key elements of that?
So the fundamental defensive stance, it's all about being low balanced and ready to react. So feet wider than shoulder width apart.
Okay.
Knees bent, arms out. And the key is staying on the balls of your feet.
Okay.
So you can move quickly.
Like you're ready to pout.
Exactly, yeah, like a coiled spring.
I like it.
Yeah.
And the guide gives this rule, slide, don't cross your feet.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Why is that so important?
Because when you cross your feet while you're sliding, you lose your balance.
Okay.
And for that split second, you're basically stuck.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And a good offensive player will take advantage of that.
Oh, yeah?
So by sliding and keeping your feet parallel, you can stay in front of your opponent and mirror their movements
Okay.
much more effectively.
Gotcha. So it's all about maintaining that balance.
Exactly. Balance is
Okay,
key.
now this is an interesting tip. The guide says to focus on your opponent's hips, not their eyes.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Why is that?
So offensive players, they love to use head fakes
Okay.
and eye movements to try and trick you.
So they're trying to mislead you.
Exactly. They're trying to fake you out,
Okay.
but your hips, they don't lie.
So the hips tell the truth.
The hips tell the truth, yeah.
Okay.
So by focusing on their hips, you can anticipate where they're really going.
Rather than getting fooled by their head or their eyes.
Exactly. You're reading their body language.
I like that.
Yeah.
And the guide actually uses Kawhi Leonard as an example of great defense.
Oh, yeah. Kawhi the Claw.
So what makes his defense so special?
So Kawhi is known for his incredible ability to shut down opposing players.
Oh.
He's like a lockdown defender.
Okay.
You know, he's always in the right position. He's got active hands, disrupting passes, and he just has this intensity and focus that's unmatched.
It's like he's always one step ahead.
Yeah, he's reading the play before it happens.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to rebounding,
Rebounding.
which to me always seemed like a mix of effort, positioning, and timing.
It's all of that.
Yeah. And the guide emphasizes boxing out before even jumping for the ball.
Yes, boxing out is crucial.
So why is that so important?
Because if you don't box out your opponent,
Yeah.
they can just slip right past you and grab the rebound.
Even if you're a better jumper.
Exactly. Even if you can jump higher.
Okay.
Boxing out is about establishing position.
Okay.
It's about creating a barrier between them and the basket.
So you're kind of like sealing them off.
Exactly. You're sealing them off.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now the guide also mentions this thing called a tip drill.
Right.
What's the strategy behind that?
So the tip drill is your backup plan.
Okay.
When you can't get a clean two-handed rebound.
Well.
Instead of letting the ball just fall to the other team,
Yeah.
you use your fingertips to tip it
Oh, okay.
to keep it alive.
So you're just trying to bat it towards your team.
Exactly. You're trying to keep possession.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I really like this mentality the guide talks about. Every miss is a pass to you.
Yeah. Dennis Rodman's philosophy.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
What kind of mindset does that create on the court?
It creates this relentless mentality where you're attacking the boards, you're anticipating where the ball might go, and you believe that you can get to it before anyone else.
It's like you're always hungry for the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're never giving up on a play.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked a lot about individual skills.
We have.
But basketball is a team sport.
Of course.
So the guide gives some tips for basketball IQ.
All right, the mental game.
Yeah. And the first one is to pass ahead in transition.
Oh, yeah.
Using LeBron as a prime example.
Classic LeBron.
So how does that create those fast break opportunities?
So when your team gets the ball, after a stop or a rebound.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get the ball up the court quickly
Yep.
before the defense can set up.
Okay.
And LeBron is amazing at this.
Right.
He sees the whole court,
Yeah.
and he finds his teammates running towards the basket for easy scores.
So it's all about exploiting that transition moment.
Exactly. Yeah, that moment of chaos.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The guide also stresses the importance of spacing.
Spacing is so crucial.
So what happens when players crowd the ball?
It's basically like traffic on the court.
Oh, okay.
Everything gets clogged up.
Right.
It's harder to drive to the basket.
Mm-hmm.
Passing lanes disappear.
Okay.
And the defense can guard multiple players at once.
This is like you're playing right into their hands.
Exactly. Yeah. You're making their job easy.
Okay.
But when you have good spacing,
Yeah.
everyone has room to operate.
Okay.
There are clear passing lanes,
Mm-hmm.
and the offense flows much more smoothly.
So it's like the opposite of that traffic jam.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like open highway.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, another tip is to read the defense and execute a backdoor cut.
Ooh, sneaky.
So can you explain what a backdoor cut is?
Yeah, so a backdoor cut is when you make a sudden move towards the basket
Okay.
behind a defender who's playing too tight.
Oh, so you're kind of like sneaking behind them.
Exactly. You're exploiting the space they've left open.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, and it's most effective when the defender is overplaying, meaning they're trying to anticipate a pass in front of you.
Gotcha. So you go the opposite way.
Exactly. You cut backdoor.
Cool.
Yeah.
And the guide even has this little whiteboard animation of a pick and roll.
Oh, yeah. The pick and roll.
So why is understanding these basic plays important even for beginners?
Because understanding plays like the pick and roll
Mm.
gives you a framework for how the offense works.
Okay.
Even if you're not running super complex plays,
Right.
understanding the principles, like how a screen can free up a teammate,
Yeah.
that just makes you a smarter player.
Okay.
It improves your basketball IQ.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. We're in the final stretch here with some advice on elevating your game.
Okay, bring it on.
And the guide starts with some tips on handling pressure.
Right, because pressure is a part of the game.
It is.
Yeah.
So what's a key takeaway when you inevitably make a mistake?
The best advice is to just breathe and focus on the next play.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's so important. Dwelling on mistakes just brings you down,
Right.
and it affects your performance.
So you have to have a short memory.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to let it go and move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, another interesting point is this idea of faking confidence.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. And the guide even says that professional players get nervous.
Oh, yeah. They definitely do.
So how can projecting confidence help, even if you don't feel it?
Well, projecting confidence can actually boost your own self-belief.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it can also make your opponents doubt themselves.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, it's like a psychological game.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's not about being arrogant.
Right.
It's just about carrying yourself like you belong on the court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the guide also talks about fitness and recovery.
Right, the off-court stuff.
Yeah, so it recommends jump rope for quickness.
Jump rope's amazing.
Yeah. And it emphasizes hydration and stretching.
So important.
So why are those things so important?
So jump rope is great for developing footwork agility coordination, all essential for basketball.
Yeah.
Hydration is obviously key for preventing cramps
Right.
and maintaining energy levels.
Right.
And stretching helps prevent injuries.
Right.
Improves flexibility.
So it's all about taking care of your body.
Exactly, yeah. Treat your body right and it'll perform for you.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, one last tip. The guide says that playing against better players is one of the fastest ways to improve.
Oh, absolutely.
Why is that?
Because when you play against people who are better than you,
Mm-hmm.
they push you outside of your comfort zone.
Okay.
They expose your weaknesses.
Oh.
And they force you to elevate your game.
So it's like trial by fire.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
it.
you sink or you swim.
But you come out stronger on the other side.
Exactly. You learn so much faster.
Cool.
Yeah.
So for you, the listener, the guide suggests trying out one of these skills in your next practice.
Yeah. Pick one and focus on it.
Yeah, and really pay attention to how it feels.
Exactly. Feel the difference.